I have a friend of mine that he's been married to his wife, Rollo, for 15 years, okay? She's a lawyer. She makes a couple $100,000 a year. He's a stay-home dad, and she's crazy about him. She would never leave him, and he has no desire to go be a career guy. He drops off the kids in the morning, makes them breakfast, packs their lunch, and he's not a softie. Like if you looked at him, you wouldn't be like, oh, this guy's a little pansy. He's not. And then they're happily married. He's not career driven. He wants to be the soccer dad is who he is. He's exactly what a soccer mom is, except he's a soccer dad. She's not a cook. He is, and they're happily married. And that's working out for them, right? But I also have friends who will call me and they'll say, I say, what's going on? I say, you sound like you're upset. What's pissing you off? Something's bothering you. Well, yeah, listen, man. I mean, I don't know. I'm like, finally, so let's just say we're having a conversation. They'll open up and they'll say, you know, would it bother you if your wife made more money than you? He asked me this question, open-ended question. You know, we're like 3-4 guys, we're talking, shooting the shit. Would it bother if your wife made more money than you? I said, why do you ask? He said, well, that's what happened with me and my wife just got a raise right now, and we got some fights at the house. I said, why does that bother you? Well, I feel like I have to be the one making more money. So psychologically, he couldn't accept it. So does that concept vary based on men and women? Because sometimes I see women who are stronger personalities marry a guy who is not necessarily an alpha. He's a little bit more of a chill, it's okay, nothing pisses him off. And that works out because I think the one thing about these philosophies is, from my experience, I don't think there's anything that's an absolute truth. Right? I think there's generalities and there's majority. And then you got the exception, you know, to the rule. What would you say to that?
Okay. Well, first and foremost, the idea that that men and women are equal is a misnomer, because I think what we do is when we talk, people throw me under the bus for this one, but I don't believe in equality. And I don't mean that in the terms of like, oh, we shouldn't all like strive to be equal. I just think that our understanding of what is equal is sort of out. It's subjective and it's obscure. It's you know, relative to whatever the challenges are that men and women face in life. So if I wanted to get pregnant, I'm a man. I can't do that because I'm a man. So that seems very unfair and unequal between the two of us.
Well,
it just
Apple
depends
thinks
on,
you can, though.
Yeah, well, yeah, apparently so.
Apple thinks you can. Can you pull up the new emoji by Apple? Apple thinks you can. I don't know how.
Exactly.
I haven't figured out yet, but
yeah,
it's a painful experience.
But biologically speaking, reality, objectively speaking, there are always going to be differences between men and women, and how we define what's equality and what's justice and what's fair and what's not fair is really just dependent on what the challenge is. So if I'm flying out here on the plane and some lady says, can you please put my bag in the overhead because you're taller than I am and you're stronger than I am and you can put it up in the overhead. Well, that seems very, no, go, we're all equal. Go ahead, you do it, right? I'm not going to defend you. We're all equal today, right? No, I'm going to go, of course, pick it up and put it in there for her. But that's what I'm talking about. What's the challenge? And the challenge in this case is just simply taking your luggage and putting it in the overhead bin, right? So when we talk about equality, we need to say what's the challenge, under what parameters, what's the context that we're talking about here. So when you're talking about your friends who are, the man is sort of like the Mr. Mom, right? He's the stay-at-home dad. Yeah. He wants to be the soccer dad or whatever else. Odds are that what does she do for a living?
A lawyer.
A lawyer. Yeah. Okay. And what did he do before he became this, or how did they meet?
I don't think he's ever had a full time.
Okay. Is he a good-looking dude? There's probably something that offsets.
He was.
There's probably something that offsets.
What do you mean he was?
He was very handsome. Right now he's got a massive belly and just he's got the dad bod and he's just.
Some women find dad bods hot.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying to you. But here's the thing, though. What are you going to change about that? It's working. They're good with it, and they've been together 15 years. Are they doing something wrong? So,
but that's the anomaly.
Exception. That's
right?
what I'm saying. That is the exception to the rule. I agree with that. So, all I'm trying to say is the one part that, Adam, I will see is, like, in the company, we have a lot of couples in the sales company. So, I'll see sometimes the wife is a bigger alpha than the husband is, and he's okay with that. Like, he doesn't have the insecurity of saying, I want to be the alpha. That the fact that he doesn't have that insecurity makes him an alpha. I don't know if that makes sense. Yes. The fact that he's not trying to impose is like, dude, I'm so happy. And they're killing it, okay? And then you got some guys that are the alpha and the wife is supporting them, some that run together. But
That's very much an exception to the rule because especially in blue collar couples, I mean, you're talking about somebody who makes a lot of money in a completely different socioeconomic class. You're looking at a larger whole. Women file for divorce 70% of the time, and that's the lowest estimate I have. Actually, I have higher estimates as well. And
so 3 out of 4 times it's the woman looking for the divorce.
What precipitates that is usually that woman has gone, they're blue collar workers, the woman has gone up in status as a result of a promotion or whatever, and now the guy is making less money, or in the case of your friend here, he was never making that much money in the first place. Now, your lawyer friend goes to the practice and she's having to defer to men who are her authorities, who are her superiors, guys who are very powerful, high status guys that she has to interact with every day. Is she going to come home from that situation and go back to her soccer dad husband and say, yeah, I'm going to submit to my husband. I'm going to, are we going to suddenly come back into that traditional, conventional gender role after working 40 hours a week with guys who are much higher status than the guy that she has to come home to every day who's changing diapers and cooking mac and cheese? So that is the power dynamic that goes along in there, because women are looking for a man that they can look up to. Women cannot look up to a man who is her equal. She's looking for a guy who makes more money than she does. She's looking for a guy who is more on top of his game as a quote-unquote dominant alpha male. She's looking for the guy who is in status-wise above herself. If there is some sort of anomaly that's going on there where she's like, oh, I'm good with it because he's a good-looking guy, I would have to say, well, what's her situation as well? So it's not just about like, okay, was he a good-looking dude, as you said he was? What is her situation? Again, money, muscles, game, and frame. So where does he fit in on those core 4 right there?
You'd probably say she's more attractive than him.
You would say so?
You would say so.
Okay. So in that case,
and he's not a porn star, so he's not packing.
Yeah,
I know where you want to go next.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you have to take that into consideration, right? You have to say, okay, well, she wants to get with this guy. I mean, I know dozens and dozens of women who are actually, at least 2 of them are my clients right now, who complain that they can't find the guy who is that higher status guy. And so they have to sort of dumb themselves down. I'm not saying you should. I'm saying they feel like they have to dumb themselves down just so they can get with a guy, because more men are simply not, average women don't want to get with average men. They want the guy who they can look up to and admire. And from an average American perspective, like blue collar workers, when that woman is elevated to a different position, that's what precipitates divorce.
So if you enjoyed this little short segment from the podcast that we did, here's another short segment to watch. Or if you want to see the entire podcast, click over here. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.